Men are constantly told that being masculine is bad, that it's toxic, that it's chauvinistic, that it's evil. And it's the opposite. It's not linguistics, is that when I say toxic masculinity and I marry those two words together, it's really difficult for me to say masculinity without thinking of toxicity.
People let politics destroy their lives and their relationships. It's insane.
What the feminist movement has done since then is it has encouraged women to throw aside their femininity and pull up their masculinity more than what's natural for them because of the fact that they have to use their masculinity to fight in this toxic masculine world.
What's the point of having people be attracted to a facade that you're not? What's the point? Just be yourself. You're going to be magnetic to the right people, and those are the people you want in your life. So you are not serving yourself when you're not being your authentic self. You are sabotaging your future self.
Highest suicide rate is 35 to 50-year-old men. I'm so tired of seeing men on social media saying, well, if you just get your money to a certain point or you get your body to a certain point, then everything's going to be fine. It's total BS. If you've met a man who's 40 years old and never been married or had kids, most likely he's an
Josh, nowadays we hear a lot the phrase toxic masculinity, and people are commenting how it's affecting young boys and relationships, but no one is talking about healthy masculinity and how we can raise good men. How does healthy masculinity look like for you, and how can we bring this positive change into the current social landscape?
That is a great question, and I feel like to answer the question, I have to start with toxic masculinity before I get to healthy masculinity. You good with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So here's maybe an unpopular opinion. I do not believe that toxic masculinity exists. I do not believe there is such a thing as toxic masculinity. I understand, I'm not naive enough to say that if you look up the information in the Psychologist Journal, there is a phrase that's called toxic masculinity. I understand that. But here's the reason I don't believe it exists. True healthy masculinity, we'll talk about that, is it's strong, it's courageous, it fights, it's powerful, and it does all these things for other people's benefits. It does it to protect people, to provide for people, to be there for people, specifically people that cannot protect, provide, and have strength themselves, whether that means, women or children or people with mental disorders or anything else. I'm not putting all those people together, by the way. I'm not saying women and children have mental disorders. I'm just saying anybody that can't protect themselves. Generally speaking, guys are bigger and women are smaller. Not always the case, but generally speaking, right? Yeah. If you go to war for the history of our entire human earth, generally speaking, it's mainly men fighting. So I think that toxic masculinity is two terms that have been mushed together that shouldn't be. Now, is there toxicity? 100%. And is there toxicity that is male flavored versus female flavored? 100%. Because if you look at masculinity, I shouldn't say male, if you look at masculinity, let's just take an example. One trait of masculinity is power, right? It's powerful. Could that be used in a toxic way? 100%. Absolutely, it could. You can look at a leader throughout the world that uses their power for good to help people that are being hurt. And then you could also look at a leader in the world that uses their power for evil. So I think that's where the term toxic masculinity comes from, is people think, well, he's being toxic and it's a masculine trait, therefore it's toxic masculinity. No. That's just a person being toxic. Let me ask you this. If toxic masculinity is such a thing, Francesco, why have you ever heard the term toxic femininity?
No, but I would assume that it should, if one exists, so should the other.
Right. So why haven't we heard that term?
I think it's just, it hasn't been weaponized the same way toxic masculinity has, because that term
Which is insane.
It
By the
is
way, I'm just
insane
going to
because
stop you right there. It's
yeah, that's
absolutely
okay.
insane
Yeah,
because toxic femininity is just as true as toxic masculinity.
true.
So, as an example, let's use femininity for example. What is one of the things that femininity is really good at? Nurturing and caring and loving in that way, providing in that way, different than the way masculinity provides for people. Now, can that be used in a manipulative sense? Yes, 100%, all the time.
Yeah.
People use their femininity to manipulate people, to take care of them, aka steal their money with elder abuse cases. That's almost always a sign of that toxic. But here's the deal. Femininity in and of itself is the same as masculinity, and that is that it's true, it's pure, it's lovely, it's amazing, it's for the benefit of others. So why does this, some people just might think this sounds like linguistics, but let me tell you why it's not linguistics. The reason it's not linguistics is that when I say toxic masculinity and I marry those two words together, it's really difficult for me to say masculinity without thinking of toxicity.
Right.
Usually, if I ask somebody, what is a feminine trait or what is femininity, it's generally a positive thing. If I ask people what masculinity is, it's often negative. And I think the reason why is because at some point in human history, we started using this term toxic masculinity, and it's marrying masculinity with toxicity. No. Toxicity should be over here, and masculinity and femininity should be over here. They're healthy. They're beautiful. They're amazing. Toxicity is bad. We can all use whatever trait we want. So as a male, I'm assuming you're a male as well, most men are primarily masculine and most women are primarily feminine. Now, every single man and every single woman has both. Every single man has masculine traits and feminine traits. Every single woman has masculine traits and feminine traits. I'm just talking about the majority here. The majority of men are mainly masculine. The majority of women are mainly feminine. Don't let media and social media and everything else confuse you on this topic. That is actually a fact.
Yeah.
So why is that important? Well, it's first important that we don't mix up the term masculinity with male, because those are not the same thing, or femininity with female, because we both have both traits. Meaning a woman can be even more toxic masculine than a man can if she chooses to use her masculine traits in a toxic way. A man could be even more toxic feminine than a woman could if he uses his feminine traits in a toxic way. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's
So
logic. It's logic.
it is very logical.
It's logical.
And some people will push back on this. They're like, no, but it's a thing. No, it's not a thing. There's evil in the world. There's toxicity in the world. We all have toxicity and evil within us. Don't pretend yourself. Like anyone that's listening to this, don't be naive enough to think that you are the only person that knows all of the truths. Let me give you an example, Francesco. This is a great example. This actually just happened last night, so I'm going to share it.
All right.
Most likely because my friend's never going to listen to this podcast. And if she does, well, here you go.
Too late.
I went out dancing with my friend, very platonic friend, female. I'm heterosexual. She is bi, but mainly lesbian. And we went out dancing. This is important to the story. We went out dancing. We had a lot of fun. She is a great person. We went and got some food afterwards. And then after that, on our walk back to the car, she asked me, okay, so let's jump into politics now. She texted me that morning, did you vote for Trump? And then on the walk back, she's like, well, let's talk about politics now. Now, let me just tell you, I'm talking to a lesbian semi-bi woman in an extremely liberal part of the US, which is in Portland, Oregon. It's one of the most liberal cities in the entire state. So you can already have an idea of where she falls politically. Like I don't even have to say anything else to have an idea of where she falls politically,
Fair.
right? And so then, she was digging all these questions to try to figure out if I voted for him. And I basically didn't want to have the conversation because it's not our relationship. It's not going to help our relationship. Honestly, like we're probably politically pretty different. And I just didn't want to have the conversation, but she kept pushing it. And then she said something interesting. And she basically said, well, because Trump is only hurting everyone that anyone cares about right now, anyone that votes for him is just actively hurting everyone I care about.
Wow. I don't think it goes like that, no.
I was like, interesting.
Interesting.
I said, so 60% of the United States population that voted for him is actively hurting everyone that you care about.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Now, why do I bring up that example? Because there are several people in the world that would call Trump a toxic masculine man.
Mm-hmm.
I would not, because again, I don't believe in the phrase. But they would. But then she took it a step further and not only said, well, Trump is a toxic masculine man, but you are if you voted for him. And by the way, I never even told her if I voted for him or not.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to get into that conversation. And it's none of her business and I don't care. I don't want to do this thing right now. That's not why I'm
Fair.
friends with her. We're friends for other reasons. But I have a feeling that's the last time we're going to hang out for a while because she was so upset at the end of the conversation, even though I didn't actually say that I voted for him or believed in what he was doing or anything. Like she just went on a rant herself. I didn't say anything.
Right.
By the end of that, halfway back to the car, she was like, okay, well, it's good to see you. I was like, oh, well, the car's still this way. She's like, well, I'm going to walk a little slower this way. She literally excused herself from my company. So I have a feeling we're not friends anymore after last night, even though I didn't even do anything. Like she just riled herself up. So why am I bringing up that example? It's not to diss my friend. You don't know who it is. You're never going to find out. It's more to show the extremely negative impact of this term toxic masculinity and how even being associated with somebody who's quote unquote toxic masculine means that basically I'm the devil or Hitler or fill in the blank. It's awful.
It's awful.
It's awful. And people use the phrase, I think, a lot without even realizing what they're doing to their brain. And what they're doing to their brain is the same thing we all do to our brain every time we say, well, they are blank, whoever they is.
Yeah.
All men are blank. All women are blank. All priests are blank. All Republicans are blank. All Democrats are blank. It doesn't matter what it is. Yeah. It's whenever we put that phrase into our head, we believe it. And then we find propaganda on social media to confirm our negative, insane belief that all of whatever group of people are something. And then we dig into it, which is part of the reason why, at least here in America, we are so extremely divided right now because we get into this mode of whatever it is we believe, and then we shut out everything else that doesn't believe. Like she wouldn't even hear my answer about what I believed in politics or who I voted for or anything else because she couldn't. She literally was so fired. And by the way, she's a therapist too. But she was so fired up with all this stuff that she literally couldn't even hear what I had to say. And I told her at one point, I said, look, this is the reason I don't want to have this conversation with you because it just doesn't feel like it's going to be productive. Like I'm more than happy to have a political conversation or talk about different things that are going on. And we can talk about opinions and beliefs. I do that with people all the time on my podcast, on other podcasts. I'm not opposed to it, but I'm not going to do it if it's just a losing battle where we're just going to walk away angry. It's just not helpful.
Yeah. It's difficult, man. It's difficult, especially with politics. People get so caught up. People let politics destroy their lives and their relationships. It's insane.
Well, we don't experience life. We experience the life we focus on.
Exactly.
And if my focus is constantly, this is negative, this is evil, this is terrible, this is toxic, that's where my brain lives. And that's all I see. Because if I'm looking through this filter of toxicity, I can't see anything else.
True.
When people will lose a friendship, a relationship, a family member over something as silly as who somebody voted for, that's insane.
What are we doing here? Crazy.
How are we ever going to get to a point where we compromise and understand each other if you won't even have a conversation with somebody that disagrees. I mean,
It's very
literally,
tribal. It's so tribal. It's just instincts, just emotions. You're
it,
leaving, you're letting your emotions overpower you, like take control of you.
yeah. And honestly, 95% of the conversation last night was her.
Yeah.
It was just her spinning with me just walking with her.
Right. All
And
right. Yeah.
which is again ironic because she's a therapist. But it was interesting because I just kind of let her spin. I was like, maybe she just needs a therapy session herself right now. So I let her spin, and I just kind of added comments every once in a while. But it's amazing that because of the fact that I just didn't fully agree with her, she wouldn't even walk the rest of the way back to my car, even though I didn't disagree with her. I didn't even disagree with her. But here's the deal. For a long time, at least in my country, in the US, being a white, cisgender, male, straight, God forbid, conservative, upper middle class person, which all basically describe me, means that I'm the problem and I'm the evil and I'm the toxicity.
You've been demonized. You've been demonized. And although the
And this is
whites...
and I'm not having a pity party here too, by the way. Just
No, I
don't
get
get
it.
me
I
wrong.
get it.
I'm not saying I'm the victim. I'm not saying I'm having a pity party. I'm also not saying that white people have not had a lot of advantages over the years. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying just because of those things that I can't control, most of what I just mentioned, I can't control. I can't control being male, despite what 2025 tells you. I was born with a penis. I still have a penis. I'm still a man. I can't control that. I can't control being born into a middle-class family. I can't control being born white.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? Blackface? Like, that's pretty fucking racist. So I don't think I'm going to do that anytime soon. Right. So like, I can't control almost everything that I'm like. Could I control whether I'm conservative or liberal on fiscal policy? Of course I could. But most of the other things I can't control. So why am I being demonized because of the fact that maybe somebody else that fell in those same categories did something toxic? So now all of a sudden masculinity is toxic and I'm toxic? No, absolutely not. I'm not going to buy into this. I'm not going to buy into this whole thing of like, because my great grandparents may have been evil in some way, that somehow I'm evil. No, I'm not.
May have. We don't even know.
Yeah, may have.
It was like 1% of the population.
I mean, mine didn't, man, because like, what nationality are you?
Albanian.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm half Italian. So most of my family's from Italy. Mm-hmm. And when Italians came over to the US, they were not treated well. It's part of the reason the mafia and everything did what it did, because they were being so mistreated for so long that people were finally standing up and like, forget this. We're not going to let the cops or anything else teach us. We're just going to become the mafia. And now guess what? Our entire race is known as mafia because of that reason. Now, I'm not blaming everybody else. I'm just saying it wasn't me. Like, it wasn't my family. Like, my family was the one that was also being persecuted. So like, don't pull this crap that like I had like slave trader, great grandparents or something. I didn't. They weren't even over here. They were in Italy still.
And all these men who have been demonized and disempowered and trashed on social media now underperform in universities. Women out-earn them in jobs right after graduation, but men are still expected to provide, pay for the dates, be the protectors, and hold the whole infrastructure of society standing. This whole feminist movement for equality has simply disempowered men and shamed them for who they are, but demands still the same input from them, and maybe less or no accountability from women.
It's also, real quick, it's also demonized women. Now, women don't think that it does, but the feminist movement, what it's done is it's actually taken a lot of the beauty of femininity and said that's wrong.
Yeah.
So now, I shouldn't say most. When the feminist movement started, it's had many iterations, but one of the iterations was Betty Friedan wrote a book called The Feminine Mystique. If anyone hasn't read it, you should read it. And if anyone's listening to this, by the way, that calls yourself a feminist and you've never read that book, shame on you. That would be like calling yourself a Christian and never reading the Bible. Shame on you. Go read it, because that is one of the biggest pieces about the feminist movement. And Betty Friedan was actually not anti-man. She wasn't at all. I'm going to look up a quote here, see if I can find it real quick.
Is this from the first original wave of feminism?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if
Something
I'd
like
say
that.
it was the original wave because there were waves before that. There's been a lot of different waves, throughout the years, but it's definitely one of them.
Funny
And
how feminism has made women more masculine, huh?
it's what's the easiest way for me to say this? It has encouraged and really asked women to play out more of their masculine traits. So a big and this is not all feminism, because of course this is not where feminism came from. So let me just read this quote from Betty Friedan. Then
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
She said, this is in The Feminine Mystique. Go read it. Men weren't really the enemy. They were fellow victims suffering from an outmoded masculine mystique that made them feel unnecessarily inadequate when there were no bears to kill. Her point here is, don't blame the men. The men are also just trying to figure out how to live out their authentic masculinity, just like women are trying to figure out how to live out their authentic femininity. The problem with, I think, a big piece of what the feminist movement has done since then is it has encouraged women to throw aside their femininity and pull up their masculinity more than what's natural for them, because of the fact that they have to use their masculinity to fight in this toxic masculine world.
Right.
That never ends well, man.
It's not.
I'll tell you what, every single relationship I've ever seen, 100% of them, if it starts with a primarily masculine man and a primarily feminine woman, and they decide to pick up the other traits and the man becomes more primarily feminine in his interactions with her, she is forced to become more primarily masculine, and then it's off kiltered because neither one of them are living out their true identity. Every same-sex couple I've ever seen that's successful, again, doesn't matter if they're male or female, has one person that's primarily masculine and one person that's primarily feminine.
Yes.
Masculine and feminine go together like a magnet. They come together. They
Yin and
work
yang, baby.
so well. And it's not about gender or it's about masculine and feminine. So it doesn't matter if it's two men, two women, a man and a woman, doesn't matter. If one is primarily masculine, the other one's primarily masculine, it doesn't work.
No.
If one is primarily feminine, the other one is, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
It just doesn't. And I shouldn't say the whole, most of the feminist movement is encouraging women basically to man up, even though they would never say that, which is so ironic, because if they heard that terminology, they'd be like, no, we're not. That's the opposite of what we're saying. It's not, though, because you're asking them to bring in masculine traits in order to fight with the toxic masculine evil men that are out there, in order to get the job, in order to have equality, in order to be able to do all these things. And oh my God, I feel so bad for women today because they're expected to do everything.
Yeah.
They're expected to raise the kids and to keep the house in order and to have a full-time job and to be a part of all these different things and to do everything else. And then men are as well. And then we have these men and women who suck at a lot of the things they're doing because there's no defined roles. It's really sad.
Yeah. We're just becoming more atomized, more separated when we should be together in this. We
Absolutely.
should fight and come
Dude,
together.
I'm all about men and women. It's
beautiful.
This talk of equality, Francesco, is complete bullshit. There is no such thing as equality because feminine traits are different than masculine traits. So they're not equal. That doesn't mean one is subpar and one is on top. That's not what it means. It means that they're uniquely distinct. So it can't be equal. It just can't. Because there are, so go back to your question.
Yeah. Okay, no.
Actually, you ask another question if you want.
Okay. So I want to say, on the other hand, is it something that men are doing that is in a very subtle or non-obvious way hurting them without realizing? Because we might be participating as well in this in ways we don't know.
It's not that we might be participating. We
We
have a
are.
huge hand in this. I am not
Yeah.
blaming women at all. So if it's coming across that way, that is not what I'm blaming. And
Mhm.
by the way, when I say the feminist movement, I'm not blaming women. I'm blaming the feminist movement. That involves a lot of men as well. That's not just women. So this is not a, one is worse than the other gender conversation whatsoever. Men are very much playing into this. Number one is primarily masculine men are acting, they're acting primarily feminine. Now, I don't mean that in a derogatory term as far as whatever sexual preference they choose to have or anything. That's not what I mean. What I mean by that is if I'm a primarily masculine man and I start acting feminine in my relationships, in my work, and everything else, I'm living inauthentic to myself. I'm not actually living who I am. So some people might hear that and they're like, "Oh my God, that's so sexist." No, it has nothing to do with sex.
Yeah.
Let me use a different way of explaining this. Have you ever felt, Francesco, like you were in an environment where you kind of had to be, or you were forced to be, or you decided to be a chameleon, like you just needed to kind of blend in and maybe act a little different because you needed to blend in? Have you ever been in an
I, I
environment like that?
I would say so. Perhaps at work environments sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, work environment.
Work
Have you
environments.
ever done that and then felt bad afterwards? Like you felt like I wasn't really being myself there?
Absolutely. Feel guilty. Like, why? This is not me. Why am I trying to be like them just to fit in? Absolutely.
Yeah, whether that means to get a date or to get a job or in the workplace or in politics or whatever, in your family, right? It could be anything.
Mm-hmm.
I think 100% of us, if we ask that question to ourselves, would have to say yes. I know I have plenty of times. And when you do that and you don't feel like you're living your true self, it doesn't feel good, right?
No.
It might in the moment, like you maybe could convince yourself, but afterwards, I'm like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily mean you did anything that was hurtful and that you hurt somebody else. It just means that you weren't living your authentic self. That's what I'm talking about here. So for
Right.
anybody that's having a hard time with the terms masculinity, femininity, all I'm saying is, are you living your true self? Are you out there being who you are? Because if you're not, it's going to hurt you and it's going to hurt the people around you. Take it from a guy who has screwed up more relationships than he can count, whether that means romantic or marriages or friendships. Dude, I've done it all. I've done it all. And pretty much every single time I've done that, actually 100% of the time I did that, it was because I wasn't living my true self. Because relationships that end when you're living, they still end when you're living your true self. Many relationships will still end because if you got into the relationship, you weren't living your true self, and then all of a sudden you start living your true self, that relationship, odds are, will end.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about that. That's a good thing. I want people around me that can accept me for who I am, my authentic self. And I'm a lot, dude. And I know that.
There's no
So if
point of
people are
attracting the
willing to
people
put
who
up
are
with
not
that,
like you.
I'm grateful. What's
Yeah?
that?
What's the point of what's the point of having people be attracted to a facade that you're not? What's the point? Just be yourself. You're gonna be magnetic to the right people, and those are the people you want in your life. So you are not serving yourself when you're not being your authentic self. You are
I,
sabotaging your future self.
I agree. And almost every time, I think hopefully this podcast episode is an exception, but almost every time we take this and we put it up to our face, we're seeing somebody live inauthentically.
Mm.
Almost all the time. Because it's either news that's giving us some sort of propaganda where people aren't being authentic at all. They're trying to sell something.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's social media where usually people aren't being authentic and they're trying to sell a version of themselves.
Right.
And again, I'm not saying all the time because there are honest times. Like right now, I feel very genuine in this moment. I think you're
Yes.
very genuine in this moment. I hope
Thank you.
people pick up on the fact that we're being very genuine in this moment. So there definitely are moments, but man, most of the time you pick up the screen, that's what's going to happen. So if we're so constantly invaded from everything we look at on a screen, to think that it's real and authentic, that we believe it so much that it really screws up our life. Let's go back to the example with my friend. Guaranteed that's happened with her. Like she's been so programmed by everything she's viewed about the opinions of like what all conservatives are like,
Yeah.
that now maybe we can't even be friends, even though she knows me. We've
You're right.
spent years getting to know each other. We used to attend a group together almost every single week. We've hung out plenty of times. She knows about my kids. She knows about my life. But she's so stuck on this that
Yeah.
we might be done.
Yeah.
Like that to me is incredibly sad. So
Yeah, go on.
I just was kind of coming back to your question because I'm on a bit of a soapbox today. So I appreciate you letting me talk. But men are constantly told that being masculine is bad,
Mm-hmm.
that it's toxic, that it's chauvinistic, that it's evil. And it's the opposite. True masculinity is strong. It's powerful. It's courageous. It takes leaps. It helps and protects people when they need it. It provides for people that need providing for. That's what true masculinity is. And we live in a world where especially young men are told that everything about it is evil. And I think we're finally getting to a point, it seems like we're turning a little bit, where a lot of guys are waking up and saying, yeah, this doesn't seem evil. I'm not sure I buy the propaganda anymore. However, the problem is a lot of the guys that are speaking positively about masculinity right now have some really toxic traits.
Yeah.
Because it might be the guy who is very respectful and like works out really hard, has a really incredible body, eats really well, like he really takes care of himself. He's done phenomenal in business. He's really, he does really well with women and relationships, and he has all these amazing qualities about him, some of which are very masculine. And then he gets on social media and brags about how many women he sleeps with and how many women he takes advantage of and how many women he basically abuses.
Yeah.
And men see this guy, and because of the fact that he's mainly very strong masculine, they're like, yeah, I want to follow that, because
Mm-hmm.
all of this feminine BS, forget it, I'm done with it. And they
Yeah.
want to follow that guy. But then guess what? They follow him hook, line, and sinker. And then
Exactly.
they become the ones that are trashing women and abusing them and sleeping with all of them and everything else. And then they're convincing themselves, well, guys can sleep with as many women as they want. It's not going to affect them. That's BS. It's 100% BS. It's
Funny,
not accurate.
funny you mentioned this. I was now in Greece last week, and it's a small island, and people there, just because they don't have access to this information, people don't live in this. They have, of course, they have social media, but this very Americanized propaganda and indoctrination doesn't reach that part. It's very
Mm.
remote. It's in Greece. People speak Greek. They consume Greek media, and you can see people just are in the natural gender roles. And I spent the whole 10 days traveling, meeting people, and toxic. No, not a single woman talked about toxic masculinity. They say, "Oh well, some men are assholes,"
Yeah, which is
obviously,
true.
but this doesn't exist. Even the term toxic masculinity, it's not. It doesn't exist in the cultural discussion and conversation at the moment in Greece. So you can see how if we just leave this fucking phone down and live our lives the way instinctually feels authentic, and ignore this fucking propaganda and just see people for who they are. Okay, you're an asshole, you're a good guy, I like you, let's hang out. Oh, you have an opinion, doesn't matter. I've known you my whole life, like your friend. Just one opinion is not gonna discount everything you've done for me. Okay, let's be friends. So this is the thing, is the fucking phones. I'm speaking like a boomer now, but it is the fucking phones.
No, it is. Yeah, I know. Maybe we come across as a couple old men right now. I don't know. But no, I completely agree with you, because, like we'll see what my friend decides to do. But it will be incredibly sad if she decides not to be friends anymore because of that iteration of what she built up in her mind is now all of a sudden who I am after knowing me for years. That's
And it's,
incredibly sad
yeah.
to me. And I'm fine with it. You know why?
Hmm.
Because it's not a friend.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Yeah.
If someone is going to put a bunch of stuff on me unrelated to what I even believe and not even listen to what I believe, man, I learned that lesson the hard way going through my divorce. There's a lot of people. There was a very specific story that spread around about me that people believed hook, line, and sinker. And I quickly found out who was my friend and who wasn't, because the story was 100% inaccurate. It was 100% false. And I found out very quickly who was my friend and who wasn't, because the majority of people just believed it and never even asked me.
Exactly.
I was like, oh, none of you were ever my friend.
I can so
Because if you're
relate to
not even
this.
going to come to me and ask, and even if the story was true, come to me, ask, see how I feel about it. What if I really fucked up and I felt really bad about it and I did all these apologies and amends and everything else? Great, then we can probably still be friends, right? Like, that's a good friend.
Yeah.
I love friends like that. The friends that never come to me and apologize or make amends or never take responsibility for anything, forget it. I have no time for you. The ones that fuck up really bad and then come to me and do everything they can to repair that, that's the friend I want.
Because we
I
do
take that
fuck
friend
up.
all day long over the other
Exactly.
one.
Exactly.
Because the other one is completely blind as to what they see. So let's go back to men for a second. How does this affect men's mental health specifically? Well, you have a whole generation of men, most of us that are alive today. I would say less of older generations feel this way because they are firmly rooted enough in their own masculinity from previous generations when it used to be a good thing to be masculine, that I don't find this as much with them. If I'm talking to 70, 80-year-olds, I don't find this much with them. They're usually pretty strong in their masculinity from my experience. I'm talking more middle-aged, guys like our age, guys that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, especially. You know, you talk like young Gen X, old Gen Y, around that age. And what I found in this generation is that we've been told for so long how terrible masculinity is and how toxic and evil and chauvinistic it is, that as much as we don't want to believe it, we start believing it. And we don't
We
even
internalize
realize
it.
we're believing it. We don't think we are, but we are. And then we start letting that seep into our head. And what does that turn into? Well, it either turns us into men who want to fight, get really defensive and really angry, and basically say, fuck the world, you're all wrong, masculinity's great. And then we kind of become toxic in that.
Ironically.
Right? Ironically, right? Or we're like, oh, okay, I guess that's fine. And then we just like become these feminine piles of mush where we're not really living out our masculine traits at all. And frankly, we're not doing a very good job living out our feminine traits either. It's not like we become these amazingly loving, nurturing, caring individuals.
No.
We just kind of seep into this like codependent and meshed mush of like, I don't know, whatever you want to do, happy wife, happy life, whatever. Like, look at any sitcom over the last 30 years and find one strong dad. One. Give me one strong dad, because they're all weak buffoons.
Yeah.
That just do whatever their wife tells them to do at all times.
Do you think it's intentional? All these
100% it's
cartoons?
intentional,
Yeah, it's
because of the fact that
yeah.
they're trying to convey this message that this masculine thing is wrong. But look at where we are at in the world. It's so much worse now than it was when we had strong masculine men. And I'm not a guy who's 80 years old that's like, look at the 50s, they were the best. I'm not that guy. I wasn't alive in the 50s. I have no idea about the 50s. But I do know that we were much stronger as people before we allowed this to come in. So what does that do to the male? Well, I'll tell you very specifically what it does to the male. The highest suicide rate is 35 to 50-year-old men.
Yeah. Crazy. At the
Why?
peak. At your peak.
But think about it. Why? That should be the prime of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
This is the prime of my life at 41 years old. I'm at my absolute prime. I'm in the best physical shape I've ever been. I'm in good financial shape. I'm in good, I've been through all the shit. I've been through business failures, financial failures, relationship failures, divorces, everything, you name it. Issues with my kids, like all of it. I've been through, I shouldn't say all of it because the universe is like gonna send me something worse when I say that. But I've been through a lot. But
Yeah.
this is the time where like we get this genuine time with our kids. And hopefully we've advanced a bit in our careers, and hopefully we're making a little bit more money, and we've had a little bit more success, and we have some relationships that have been around for a while. This should be the best time of our lives
Yeah.
at our peak health and everything else. And all we're doing is killing ourselves.
It's insane, man.
It's incredibly sad, man.
It's sad.
But why is it? Well, I think everything we're talking about is a huge reason, because if I'm a man, now I'm much more bold than most men are. I'll come on here and talk about how toxic masculinity doesn't exist. Most men won't do that
Mm-hmm.
because most men will just seep in what they hear and what they feel, and then it just shames them and it makes them feel like crap and like, oh man, I am the problem.
Yeah.
And if I'm the problem and then something happens where my world gets rocked and I go through a divorce or a business failure or a financial failure, then it's like, well,
What am
what's
I?
the point?
Yeah. Do you
I'm not
think
adding
if
any value to the world anyway.
Do you think if we change society's expectations on men and sort of demand less from them, would it lower the suicide rates?
I think it's dangerous to expect the society or government or any body at large to do anything. I think it has to start with each and every individual man
Man, yeah.
in his own head and in his own heart. So I coach a lot of men. And one of the main things that I coach them on, now I've been a financial planner for 19 years, so I have plenty of coaching experience with that. I've mentored men since I was in high school, and I was mentoring junior high boys when I was in high school, right? So I've been mentoring boys and men my entire life. But the number one thing that I coach men on these days is finding their true, authentic selves, which is usually very masculine. Because if
Okay,
they can do that, and they can be comfortable
yeah.
in their own skin, and they can be comfortable with, no, it's actually very, very positive for me to be masculine. It's very positive for me to show up masculine in my relationship with my wife, my girlfriend, my kids, my friends. If they can do that, a lot of other things just fall into place. I'm so tired of seeing men on social media saying, well, if you just get your money to a certain point or you get your body to a certain point, then everything's going to be fine. It's total BS. I've met so many people and I've known people that have committed suicide that have six packs, that have millions of dollars in the bank.
Yeah.
It does not change anything. It does not matter for the person that's listening right now, please, that doesn't make a lot of money. If you're thinking the money's going to change things, it will not change things.
No.
It will not. All money does, as a financial planner for 19 years, I've met with thousands of people, and I can tell you there's one commonality. All money does is amplifies who you are. So if you're an asshole, you're going to be a bigger asshole with more money. If you're kind and generous, you're going to be way more kind and generous with more money.
Yeah.
If you're insecure, you're going to be way more insecure with more money. That's just what money does. It just amplifies who we are. So that doesn't fix anything. Becoming a gym bro and being in the gym all the time to get that six pack and everything else and being addicted to working out is not gonna remove that negative stuff in your body, in your thoughts that you are not dealing with. It won't. It will still be there. You can ignore it because you just keep lifting. Oh, I hope that I never have to deal with this negative emotional stuff in my head. You can do that all you want, but you will do that until you die and you will still have it in your head.
Yeah. Let's say, so if you're talking to a young man, let's say that you're coaching him, let's say 18 to 21 years old, who has no guidance, who is confused from all the mixed messages he sees online and he consumes, and he doesn't know how to behave or what path to take. If you were to advise him on what next 3 steps to take, so that he enters into adulthood in the best positive foundation to becoming a strong, good, fulfilled man, what would those steps be? He's broke, he's naive, he's entering adulthood, he needs guidance.
The
What would you
first
do?
one would be stop blaming other people or situations or circumstances for where you're at in life. It's never anyone else's fault except for your own. We all have a choice of how we deal with people and circumstances. So number one, stop blaming. Number two, which might sound the same as number one, but number two is take responsibility. Now it's slightly different, but you can not blame and still not take responsibility. A common analogy I use with this is an apology versus an amends. I can apologize to you if I did something without taking any responsibility for it, the thing. Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
I'm sorry for yelling at you. Did I, anywhere in that sentence, did I say I did anything wrong? It's maybe implied, but I didn't say it. I just said, I'm sorry I yelled at you. But why am I sorry? Maybe I'm sorry because of the fact that you had a negative emotion and I want you to have a positive emotion so that we can be friends, but I don't actually think I did anything wrong. Yeah. And amends is, I yelled at you. That was incredibly wrong. It probably made you feel really scared and upset and frustrated. Different, right? That's
Absolutely.
taking responsibility. So, number one, stop blaming. We live in a world that blames so much. Just stop it.
All the time.
Stop blaming, which, by the way, that also includes yourself. Don't blame yourself either. This is a learning journey. If you start sitting and blaming yourself, that's just going to produce shame, and shame is never helpful. So stop blaming. Number two, take responsibility. Take responsibility specifically, though, for the things that you can control, not the things that you can't. I can't control your opinion about me, Francesco. I can't control anybody else's opinion about me. I can't control anybody's narrative about me. Going back to the story of the ruthless lies that were spread around me after my divorce, I can't control that narrative. If somebody wants to believe that about me, go for it. That's between you and God. You see how that works out.
Yeah.
So stop blaming. Don't blame, including yourself. Take responsibility. And then the third one's going to maybe sound cliche, but it's just take a small action. Just take action. Think about where you want to go, what is important to you in your life, and just decide today that I'm going to take one small action today. I despise the idea of getting 1% better every single day. I know it's very, very popular in the manosphere and everything else. Just get 1% better and just 1% better. And it's just total bullshit. And the reason why is because you're not always going to get 1% better every single day. You're not. You're going to have times where it's going to suck and you're going to feel like you move back 5 steps. That's not getting 1% better. It's just, that's not how life works. Life is not this progressive, it just everything consistent.
It's not linear.
It's not
linear. Yeah.
It's like fucking this. At least my life is. Maybe yours isn't, but my life is like.
No, I think everyone is like that.
So maybe 1% better if you're talking about like your mental attitude. Sure, I'll buy that. But take a very small action to make sure that you're not blaming and to make sure that you're taking responsibility and that you're doing something every single day. Those have been my 3 things.
Nice. I want to ask you something since you are a father and since you've been through a divorce. Funnily, today I saw a video on YouTube. This guy was saying how being in your 30s and single, it's actually awesome, and that men shouldn't settle at which in a way you shouldn't settle, but men at 36, 39 years old, you have so much time if you're single to make money, so don't have a family yet. Now, you are a father. Do you think that becoming a father early in life serves men better, in general, of course everyone is different, than having kids later in life? How do you view this? Because I didn't like his advice. I didn't like his until 45.
His advice is very selfish. So let's just start with that.
Of course.
It just is.
But it was very popular.
And I don't mean selfish in a good way, like I'm taking care of myself. I mean self-centered. I mean narcissistic. His advice, frankly, is narcissistic. It's nobody else matters but you. So go put yourself out first, make all the money, and don't care for anybody. That's basically the advice. Well, that's That's a terrible way to live.
It's a sad
Could you
life.
imagine our world full of a bunch of people like that? Now, I don't think that there is an age to have kids. I'm not even going to have an opinion on that because I don't have an opinion on that. I know plenty of great dads that had kids when they were 20 and plenty of great dads that had kids when they're 50. Like, I'm not going to have an opinion on that. What I will say, however, is that if if you've met a man who's 40 years old and never been married or had kids, most likely he's an extremely self-centered narcissistic man. They go hand in hand. Why? Because he's never been forced not to. If I'm just out there, and by the way, this is true for women too. I'm just throwing men under the bus because it's easier because I'm a man. But if I've never been forced to like share things and to do something as a family or as a unit or to have somebody else's, because you could very easily just be that single person and not ever put anybody else's needs ahead of your own. Like it's very easy to do as a single person. When my kids aren't with me, it's very easy for me to do when I'm on my single time, because I get my kids, sometimes and they're with their mom sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy for me just to do whatever the heck I want to do because I'm basically living like a single guy.
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful that I'm not like that all the time, because if I was like that all the time, I'd probably be pretty freaking self-centered.
Yeah.
So I think that statement is hurting humanity, to have men be that selfish. Because then what are you going to do? Then you're going to be 40 and have your first kid and try to get married and try to interact with all these people when you've had all of this 100% freedom your whole life. Trust me, that is going to be incredibly painful and difficult. I had a friend who did that years ago, and he was that guy. And he was an amazing man, which is why we were friends. And he was also amazingly self-centered. Even though I would say like a lot of it through no fault of his own, like he just didn't know how to interact in a unit because he didn't have to.
Yeah.
Then he got married and had a kid. And guess what? It was like years of we're going to get divorced any day. Years.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't figure it out. And I'm not saying it was all his fault. She definitely had to blame too. But he just couldn't. He's like, I don't know how to unify all this together.
Makes
So
sense.
can it be done? Sure. Is it really difficult? Yeah, it is. And frankly, I would say, well, what's the mission? What's the purpose? Because as masculine men, we are designed to love and protect and provide for something. And traditionally, that's been a spouse and children. That's how the whole human race has evolved for, as long as the human race has been around. That's what we've done. So when that is taken away from men, then they have to find another way of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And often with men, it's purported we'll do it through work. Well, a man could try to do that through work, but not actually do that through work. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Met a lot of men in the business place or that own a business that aren't actually providing and protecting and helping other people. They're just out there trying to do their own thing to make money and feed their own ego or whatever else they're trying to do.
Yeah. Right.
To me, that's really unhealthy. That's not really true. I'm not even going to call it toxic or bad. I'm just going to say it's not living up to your full potential.
Yeah. And it's kind
Your
of
full
net
potential as a man
negative.
is to like love and protect and provide and help raise other people.
Yeah, exactly. Right, Josh, last question. What do you want to be remembered for?
An excellent dad.
Nice. I like that. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I watched this video not too long ago with of course I'm going to forget his name now that I'm trying to tell the story. The guy that played Saul Goodman in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
Do you know which actor I'm talking about? I'm totally blanking on his name right now. I love him as an actor as well. He's also in the movie Nobody, which is like one of my favorite movies of all time. If you've never seen the movie Nobody, go watch it. But
yeah, he's Bryan Cranston. Is it him?
No. That's the main guy in Breaking Bad. I'm talking
Aaron
about
Paul?
the guy that plays Saul Goodman.
Saul Goodman, Bob Odenkirk.
Bob Odenkirk. Thank you.
Odenkirk,
Thank
yeah.
you. Okay. So I saw an interview with Bob Odenkirk not that long ago, and the interviewer asked him a similar question, but he said basically, when was like the most, I think it was like, what's the most joyous or the most memorable time of your life? And Bob Odenkirk sat there for a second. He kind of looked up like we often do when we're thinking, upper left, it means somebody's thinking, right? And he's sitting here and he's thinking. And then he looks at him and he said, when I was a dad, my kids were at home. Now you have a man that's extremely successful, has made a lot of money, very popular, very funny. A lot of people don't know he's funny. He used to be in a lot of comedy routines. He seems like a very respectful man. I've never seen him. I've only seen people like just talk positively about who he is as a person and how kind and generous and everything else that he is when they meet him. I don't know. Obviously, I've never met him. I would love to. He seems like an amazing man. And all of that meant nothing to him. Because what he said was, when my kids were in the house, he said, I knew what my purpose was. It was never a question to me what my purpose was. And my only purpose was to be a great dad. And that really hit me. Because as men, I don't think it's usually our first thought, even when we are dads. Because our first thought generally tends to be my mission, my vision, my business, like what I'm impacting the life with. And it's a good reminder for me that like, yeah, but the thing that I can impact the most are the 3 little ones that are in my house.
Love it. Josh, thank you very much, man. Thank you for being
Thanks
on
for
the
having me,
podcast.
brother. Appreciate you.